And we're rolling. Let's come closer. This is a great thing for you to learn about. We're going to do the science behind, the theory behind unconscious and conscious commitments.
Yay.
And all that stuff. So
Is
you
that
got a
pointed
little
at
taste of it.
Conscious.
Pardon?
Are you, is that pointed at you?
I don't know. Could you look and see?
Yes, it is.
Oh, good. Thanks for checking.
It looks like a funny
It's
angle.
got, let's see here.
Is that better?
It's a little more centered.
Okay.
There we go.
Thanks. So this thing today, what you're learning, and what you got a taste of last night, but now you can get the rest of the story. This is going to be the difference between you being a good therapist and a great therapist.
Mm.
Really is. Because mostly we, even as therapists, somebody comes in and says, I want to lose weight, or I want to have better relationship, or I want to do this and that. And we say, okay. And, well, I'll speak for myself. So let's get out the the motivational stuff, and we'll think about how to help you do those things, and we'll get you to do those things, and we'll create a structure, and you'll do those things. And then people don't do those things. And then it often is some sort of battle about, well, if you just followed what I said, or why didn't you do those things? Now we'll just talk about why you didn't do those things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, people don't do those things because they're committed to the other way. Like their whole body, their whole self, not their whole, much of them is committed to the old way. And so just trying to say, get over it, isn't actually an effective technique.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna change this, Hannah, because I keep getting big and you're way down back there, so that's better. Yeah, so this is the why behind that.
Mm.
This is what gets in our way. So I'll talk about that. So a lot of what I'm talking to you about today comes from this book, Hannah. Have you ever seen this book? Spontaneous Evolution, Bruce Lipton. Really interesting book. He's a developmental biologist / New Agey kind of lecturer. He wrote a book called Biology of Belief that got pretty famous. Basically how what we perceive impacts our cells directly. I mean, so he shows the pathway. Well, how does that happen? So he actually figured it out. The thought itself impacts what is happening in the cell in a very direct way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how it got famous in the circles I travel in, at least. I would say he's a little bit infamous in other circles, as far as I can tell. So, yeah. So hi, Hannah, hi, Bud. So I'll start talking to you about that stuff because it's really interesting to me, especially about why do we go unconscious? What's that about? So this sheet, this conscious to unconscious info sheet, which I took from his book. This is from his reference, and the stuff on the back is I just cleverly figured out how to take a picture and put it on a piece of paper, which I was very pleased about. So conscious, unconscious, Boulder Center for Conscious Community. What do we even mean by that? So, well, what do you think we mean, actually? Anybody having a thought? What do we mean by conscious?
When I hear that, I think of the unveiling. Like that there are things that exist in our world, in and out, that are there, but there's like a veil that is between knowing and just being there.
Mm-hmm.
So conscious means that you get to open the veil in some way.
Right, to see it, see if it was there all along. Anybody else? What do you think what do you mean by conscious?
Gosh, well, being in the psychology world, I think of the cognitive, present, active thought, intention, versus something going on under the surface that isn't in my control. Like there's a sense of agency in consciousness.
Anything that you want to say, Hannah?
I've been talking a lot with my clients about awareness, and I feel like in fostering the change process, the conscious has a lot to do with where your awareness is and how you direct your attention impact, like what am I paying attention to right now? And then I also think about like our default mode, that we kind of go into like autopilot, as our unconscious is our autopilot that like keeps us running, but we drive home and we don't know how we got there. That's like the opposite of consciousness, is our default.
Right, so to start to really get to know each of those, and I think the unconscious has kind of a bad reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Like certainly through Freud's eyes, it's like there horrible things are happening in the unconscious. But from this whole way of thinking and talking about it, it's actually just your hard drive. It's just what's going on, the operational system, all that stuff that you don't want out on your screen, because if we had everything, all that stuff on the screen, it would be nothing. I mean, there would be nothing that we could actually make sense out of. So having this whole other system that's going on behind the scenes, that's different from what we're consciously aware of, that we could actually see on the screen. But to understand the enormity of the unconscious, well, I guess I will say what he says. So he says being conscious means being awake and aware, being able to both participate and observe life at the same time, so that we're actually co-creating with life versus just in reaction constantly. But that most of us are pretty unconscious walking through the world. Like I'm thinking politically right now, the reactivity and back and forth, that's all unconscious. It's not out of awareness and choice typically about, well, yeah, but those people are, and they're, kind of the projections that happen, we get caught in that loop of unconsciousness. So, but I really appreciate how Bruce Lipton talks about the unconscious, because here's the contrast I want you to notice right away. There's the unconscious list and then the conscious list. Here's the one. The unconscious can interpret and respond to 40 million nerve impulses per second. Because look, right? I can stand up without falling over, and my digestion is happening, and I can look out the window, and like there's all kinds of things that are coming into my body in a second. 40 million, freaking, like that's a lot. But compare and contrast to 40 for the conscious mind. So that's, really distinct. That's, so to understand the power of the unconscious that is constantly operating and what's going on. And really the question around here, I think, is how do we interface with that? So knowing that the unconscious is so powerful, how in the world do we take our conscious mind and bridge back over to the unconscious and have some impact on that unconscious? Because it seems like, okay, this whole operating system is happening. How do we get in there and actually do an update on the software?
Nice.
So, great question. And I want to say a little bit more about how the unconscious gets going, so that we really understand what we're contending with. So that's what's on the back here. So to find these things, these charts. So brain waves, so we've got, at least in our lexicon, we think of, there's typically the 5 kinds of brain waves. So a hertz is how many cycles a second, all right? So that a delta is a very slow relative to a gamma, 0.4 to 4 hertz per second. So when you're in a delta brainwave, when you're in that experience of that, that's when you're sleeping. You're basically unconscious. But then theta is a little higher, and so that's when you're hanging out, which I'm guessing you do a lot of delta, or theta, sorry. That's much more about imagination and just hanging out and daydreaming, and that's a whole different brain wave. But keep going to alpha, a little faster. Alpha is typically what meditators are trying to get into, which is a sense of calm, but you're still alert. That's our friend Les Femi, can you imagine? the space between your eyebrows. So he wrote the Open Focus Brain, a really interesting book. So he talks a lot about brain waves, and he says, I mean, I appreciate him so much because he extrapolated that, well, what are meditators really trying to do, which is get into an alpha state, typically, because it's calm alertness. We're available, we're open, we're somewhat suggestible. So it's a really great place to be for our bodies. We're in a health rebuilding response. So to really understand that's what meditation is about and is really doing for us. So it's a glorious state to be in. But then there's beta, so we go from open focus to narrow focus. Beta is a faster brain wave because we are now focused, and now
so narrower focus is a higher.
Yeah, it's faster and higher.
So
it's going on.
I can see.
Yeah, now we're focusing in, which is a great cognitive ability that our prefrontal cortex is helping us do. We can focus. That's part of being conscious, is being able to pay attention and focus in on what's going on.
Yeah.
High beta, which is as you get to the higher levels, to the 35, into the 30s, that's more and more of a stress response. So it's not just focus, it's kind of the sense of, oh God, and urgency. And I would put that into reactive brain then. So creative brain are these other places. Yeah, and then, but gamma, I don't really know much about gamma. So I'll just say that it's on there. Because I think people barely studied it.
Do you know where hypnosis falls on this?
Great question. That would be in theta. So I'm glad you asked that, because then if you look down here to the EEG activity, this is why I'm bringing all of this in for you. So, okay, if you can start to get oriented to this lower chart. So here are the brain waves, delta, theta, alpha, beta. Notice gamma is even in there. And then here, like, what's the preponderance of what brain wave at what age? In other words, notice that when people are 0, I guess it doesn't quite make sense. Well, at least what I'm trying to illustrate for you is that when people are first born up to the age of 2, they're basically in delta all the time.
That's why we don't have much memory.
That's right, because there isn't information, we're just like hanging out in this sort of very sleepy place, just trying to be and get our bodies moving and kind of get used to breathing and digestion and all that stuff. So 0 to 2, there's just not much happening. But get to 2, basically from 2 to 6, people are basically in a theta state. That is really interesting, going back to hypnosis, because from 2 to 6, kids are basically walking around being hypnotized into the world.
Wow.
Isn't that cool? I mean, I didn't know that before Bruce Lipton talked about it. That's really, so that they're so suggestible, and there's this massive inputting of information that's coming in through every portal. And there's nothing, like, at this point, at our age now, we can filter it, we can say, I don't know, is that true, is it not true? None of that is happening from 2 to 6. It's just pouring through. So that
it's
is
also kind of like the most imaginative years.
Yeah,
too,
because they're in this sort of world in between worlds of, is that really a unicorn, or is that a horse, or what do I want it to be, and is my mom a real person, or is she a monster some of the time, or really trying to, it kind of fragments out.
Santa Claus is just as real as mom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all real. The fantasy is all real. But what that means is so much information, so much of our unconscious is coming out of those ages from 0 to 6. And it's all going in there as our main operating system. We haven't had any real choice about, do I want this, or do I not want that? Oh, this person, he's mad all the time. Okay, I guess that's how people are. Or she said this thing to me about, put that down, and that's, I can't believe you did that. Oh, that must mean something really important. I better download that as information. Even if that person didn't really mean for that little kid to have that be the significant takeaway from the interaction. Right. It's just coming in with no real filter.
Yeah.
So that's very intense, because what you have in you and I have in me, and Hannah, is all this programming that you had no control over going into your body. But it's what you're operating from even today. So the idea that 95% of our behavior comes from our unconscious. 95%. I just say that over and over because that's so much. And that leaves little 5% for our conscious mind to be in there trying to steer this big, massive ship around, and to say, no, over here, and over there, like, no, it's gotta be over here. That it's trying to get our conscious mind's trying to get our attention, but in terms of behavior change and trying to shift our whole world, where it really will matter is in our unconscious. That's when it's gonna change everything. It's gonna change the whole course. But if we're sitting here in a session, and I'm saying, yeah, but Tani, what was really going on when you did that? And you think, and they say, well, I don't know, but probably, I don't know, I was kind of upset. It's like, well, we don't really know what was going on because your whole unconscious was just steering you in that direction. So to have a lot of appreciation about that's what we're dealing with. Like every human being is dealing with that as we're walking around on the planet. And that's a little bit awe-inspiring, I think.
Yeah.
So can you all relate to any of this? Is it like, what are some things that have dogged you, do you think, that's been like an unconscious programming? Or what you learned from 0 to 6 that really you've carried forward and you still wonder about how it's impacting you?
For me, the thing I've been thinking a lot about lately is that it wasn't okay for me to need anything.
Right.
I
Right.
was not planned. I really disrupted my presence in the world as a baby, really disrupted some lives that weren't prepared for it. And if I had needs, I threw everybody into a tailspin. So I grew up knowing that to survive, I couldn't have needs. And it's like, even though I'm aware of this, I still can't figure out how to unhook that controlling mechanism that just says no, never need anything from anybody.
Right.
And so I've been thinking a lot about how do I replace that belief with a new one that I want to consciously choose.
Even. Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
And of course it gets even more complicated because then your parents or whoever your caregivers were, they've got their whole unconscious stuff going on.
Yeah.
And so you might be picking up on something that they don't even know they're sending out. And so then when people get so angry at their parents, which makes sense, but so blaming, but the parents, you sit them down, they're like, I don't remember that, or what do you mean? Or, I don't know what your parents might say. But it could have come from 3 generations before them that they're sending something out that they don't even know that's the message they're sending.
Yeah.
So poor parents just give them a toss of kiss, that it's hard to even know what you're communicating. If I don't even know this 95%, how is my child supposed to sort through that and know what's really going on?
Well, I'll just throw one extra inch in that as a parent of an adopted kid. It's so interesting because I don't know. I don't know what she doesn't know.
Right.
There's no peeling of that. As I'm working through all my stuff, oh yeah, I know how I might have impacted her from age whatever months to whatever. But that whole bringing forward piece, I know I'm seeing that, but I don't know exactly what that is.
Sure.
And it's so interesting to me.
Well, of course, she doesn't know what it is.
She doesn't have any idea, and she can't even say my parent did necessarily.
Right.
So I don't know, I find that really interesting, especially now that there's another entity, which is Eli. It's very interesting to me to see how that, I'm not a therapist, but as I'm watching it, what is happening right there. And so I know that there's that nurture versus nature, whatever. I'm not sure it's necessarily nature. I'm wondering if this component that there's a third component that we don't ever put in that
Well, good point.
thing.
Yeah, we should
Yeah.
name it something.
Maybe not known,
Yeah, right.
you know,
Uh-huh.
the unconscious part, because
Yeah.
I do think that that's there.
It's like
that-
between nurture and nature, it's a little bit of like,
Yeah, it's something passed down
yeah. that
somewhere, whether it was
inherited.
in womb or
Yeah.
after, that if you stay with that parent, sometimes it works out and you get to know about it or whatever, but if you don't, there's a component that you somehow, it follows you in a different way.
Yeah.
Anyway, just curious.
X variable.
Yeah.
Sounds very epigenetic-y.
Kind of, yeah, definitely. Epigenetics meaning, it's not just about the genes, but it's about the expression of the genes and then what can influence the expression.
Well, and if
of
you're
genes.
saying it's cellular, you know, all of that stuff is the same stuff.
Is there something that this is bringing to your mind, Hannah?
The thing, if I reflect on like those stages of my life, I think that one of my primary caregivers wasn't responsive, not out of like neglect, but like I had to be loud to get my needs met with her.
Interesting. Uh-huh.
And so when I look back and reflect on how we interacted throughout my childhood, like we had to have a fight or I had to have a meltdown to get her attention, and I think that probably was part of my programmable state, which is like if you're not extra like having a big expression, then it doesn't get noticed. And so because that behavior kind of didn't show up with other caregivers, it showed up mostly with her. And I think that was like, oh, with this person, if you want your needs met, you have to be big, which is different than what I think Tawny, is that her name?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's behind you.
Shared is like,
Kind of the opposite.
don't be small, like be big.
Yeah, yeah, right.
To get what you need. And I
Right.
think that's stuck with me.
And to really appreciate the survival element of that for both of you. Like
Yeah.
you figured out solutions that were very good at the time. It totally made sense. And now it doesn't make so much sense.
Right.
I mean, it's, you know, the clothes that fit then they need to be different now. But it's hard to get out of that.
I think I spent a lot of years, probably starting in middle school up and after, I spent a lot of those years trying to undo that programming or like learn how to bypass it to fit in the world a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. And how does that show up now? Is it changed for you?
Yeah, I think it's changed a lot. I think I used to have sort of this franticness of like, make sure you're seen and heard. And now in lots of different settings, I can have something that I want to say or something that I know and just be okay with like knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody has to know that I know it, and like just like getting to exist in myself and not have to be like, guys, I know this thing. I've heard about this before, and I have an idea, and like I'm just like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, feeling a little bit more at ease, I think.
So I'm hoping that understanding some of this will allow each one of us to have more compassion for all of us. Because what I believe is that people are basically doing the best they can across the board. That behavior always makes sense if you understand the context of their inner world and what we've been all raised in. And so to especially as you're hanging out with other people who are having struggles, to start with a basic premise of, and this is who they are, this is the best that they can do at this point with what they've got going, with what their operating system is allowing them to do. because that's especially useful when you're sitting with somebody who is talking about somebody else and how wronged they've been from that other person, and how, for me, it's still easy to go into that trance of, oh yeah, how could they have done that to you? Versus understanding it's much more complicated than that, like so much more complicated than that.
Mm-hmm.
And around here, I would say, where the ultimate destination is to understand how that client is creating that, which is upside down world for many, many people. Like that just seems crazy, and victim blaming and all that stuff. Versus, no, it's this. It's 95% of their behavior is in their body, and they're operating from that, and the world is responding to what they're sending out. I mean, that's kind of stunning, really. And I'd say really hard to track and to convince people of, because what it looks like is that the world is happening to me. That why are those people always so mean to me, or why did that person leave, or like I can't believe it happened to me again. It's just that the world is hard, or the world is full of struggle and pain, and all the stories that we have that people walk around with, and then sort of convince each other of, because it's easy to convince you, right? I can say, don't you know how hard it is to be in the world? And you could probably be like, oh yeah, I know, because you can go back to your own history. It's like, yes, it is hard. And all I'm doing is basically projecting and then pulling you into my projection. Is it true? I mean, that's one of my favorite questions for myself and other people. Is it true? Is it true? And especially when people are walking in and saying, but don't you see, I want you to join with me in my version of reality that I've just spent my life spinning and weaving together, and then feeling like I'm at the effect of that. So here it's really about pulling that apart, and even after all these years and all these hours of sitting with people, I can still sort of get tranced into that, oh yeah, you're right, it is so, instead of like, oh no, this is your creation. I was distracting myself thinking about a session this morning of so a family, so now adults, but they've been doing a lot of work together. Two of the kids had sexual trauma from a relative here, a cousin there, an uncle, a cousin. And so the family itself is still reeling from this decades later. And so I see a brother, let's see how to describe that. I see a couple, and he has a younger sister, and he feels terrible about not having protected the younger sister from the cousin. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what he said today was, and we know, what was the word he used? She was just cast aside. We know there was a different word, but basically, so poor thing, she just was, we just threw her away, or something like that. And it's a really interesting story, and he had all these reasons. See, because my father should have done this, and I should have done that if I was the brother, and if I didn't, the parents do something, like, why didn't we? It's like, and the person he's talking about is totally in the spin of what a victim she is of all of this trauma. I don't see her, so I can't say much more about how she's dealt with that, but what I believe is over time she just can't get herself out of that story, and that her family is supporting her to stay in that with things like, we just never helped, we just threw her away, we just discarded her. That was the word. She was just discarded at 6 years old. She was discarded. And so I did my big breath and said, well, it's hard to say this about a child, and that story is not helping her. This whole trance of life has just happening at her. She's the victim of life, versus, well, whatever has happened since then, and she's probably 40 now, I don't know how old, 45, she's creating that. So she took that conditioning and has walked through the world and keeps creating the scenario that she's totally stuck in, this torture chamber of the past, of whatever happened to her 40 years ago, and still it's as alive now as it was then.
Like her identity has become wrapped around that
And the sense,
identity of the victim.
yes, the world is happening at me. And I would say that is a very popular stance.
My mom loved that one.
Well, it seems true.
Yeah.
Because if I don't understand that I've got 95%, I just think, oh, I'm just living.
Uh-huh.
And these people, they just are so mean to me all the time, or they just never remember me, or they, think I'm invisible, whatever. If I don't understand this, it's so true. And other people are the same way, saying, yeah, it is so true. So the world of projection, and it's just so hard to snap ourselves out of that. So that's why I'm lingering on this, because I want you all to have some foothold in, oh, wait a second, discarded, wait, ho, ho, ho.
Right.
Now I'm participating in you staying asleep, you not being awake and aware, you not being conscious of how you're creating this. And this is very provocative for people. They don't, like me even saying it's like I'm disrupting somebody's way of being in the world that makes sense to them. And in many ways, the mind is it's taking this inner reality and trying to get it to somehow fit with this external world that's happening. Well, what's a great way to do it was to tell the story from here as if it's the truth. But then we just live in that same reality over and over. It's hard to wake ourselves up out of that.
Well, I know for myself when I started this work with you, the whole idea that I created it just was like, like I couldn't stand up. I wasn't able to get grounded about that.
Yeah.
So I think that is really an important piece to notice, and also how you approach it with people that are sort of like new to the whole idea of being responsible or creating the thing that's happening. Because we're bombarded all the time, television, radio, people in our world, etc., with external you shoulds. And so, you're believing that. So the fact that you have stuff on the inside isn't even a concept.
Right.
Right. Nobody says that.
Yeah.
You don't hear that any day.
No.
So the fact that I would be creating something, other than an art piece or a dinner.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
There's not much beyond that.
How about your entire life?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I found that to be like one of those pieces that I physically whirled on for, I'm going to say years.
Yeah. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it just kind of blows up our concepts of everything. And generally, people feel blamed first. Like, oh, you're just telling me I'm just doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
Right. I'm getting this,
Just flip on the lights.
this new image of how this works.
I'm listening,
is,
Todd.
I'll let you switch that.
Break.
Oh, that I'm suddenly getting this image of like, as a small child, there's that survival mechanism. So if that child is being attacked in some way, then they form a defense mechanism
Absolutely,
against
to
that
survive.
particular time to attack.
Yes.
But then as they grow up, they have this defense mechanism
Yep.
that now has a radar for like, I am looking for attacks.
Absolutely.
I am looking for the thing that I was built to protect from. And because we're scanning for that, then it hones in, it's an unconscious function that then hones in on everything that's similar to the thing that they were built to defend against.
Yep, there it is. Right, that will be attracted to it, that will want to
And then it goes,
reenact it.
there's the thing I'm built to defend against.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go towards that and go to battle.
Which in many ways, if you actually can stay conscious about it and give yourself a lot of room with it, it can be a very wonderful thing to know. Like, oh, there it is. I see. There's my pattern again. There I drew my attention to the attacker again. But yeah, typically people don't see it that way.
And then often it's, well, at least in my experience, I don't see that person in that way to begin with.
Right.
So, I'll start a job and think, oh, this boss is great, you know, like he's funny and lighthearted and I feel like he has my back. And then it's like a year later, there's the anger management crap that I grew up
Yeah.
being subject to, and now he's an authoritarian figure who's blasting me with his anger, and I'm suddenly dealing with the same situation I did when I was a little kid with my dad.
Absolutely.
But I didn't in my
Right.
mind, I'm like, I didn't
Oh, there's another
choose
asshole.
him.
Those men, they're all like that.
Like, how do I manifest that over and over again? Even
Well,
in situations where I don't think I even,
And it's so powerful that it took you a year to draw that out of him, right? I mean, that you actually will help him become your father. Because you've been interacting with him all along in an unconscious way, maybe, just go extreme here, in all these ways that then start to pull for him finally saying, I can't be a fucking A, Tiny, when you get, like, to do the thing that you most fear, but is gonna absolutely be just predictable. It's gotta happen sooner or later. It's gonna show up. You're going to create that. Because that's what we do. We don't know. Here's this world, we're one big projection device, this inner 95%, we're going around, and then the world is gonna start to line up, just like you said. We're gonna find the people that have that funny look or the smell or whatever. We'll find them, and even if we can't find them, we will create them. We will teach them how to be that person. I remember with Kath, I finally woke up, when was it? Probably about year 12 or so in our relationship. I finally could see, I'd helped her become my brother. She would actually say things. She said the thing that was like, how in the world did I teach her to say the worst thing that my brother could say to me? I mean, isn't that kind of amazing, really? But I mean, so to see it happen, it's like, life just becoming three-dimensional from this little projected device. It's really stunning, and over, we all do it. We all do it, so it's so exciting.
I feel the effects of it as a therapist.
Same.
How one of my coworkers often reminds me, like, how you feel with the kid is how the parent feels, and how you feel with the parents is exactly how their child feels, and how differently I respond to each of my clients, and to sit back and be like, they're all pulling something different out of me. Like, oh my God, I'm so their mom right now.
And so imagine living with them, like being and sharing food in the same space, and how fast would it, or how long would it take before you really acted like their mother and really became their mother? That with that level of intimacy and lack of sleep or whatever, that's when we just, we go for it. Like we are the embodiment of that. So it really helps to only see somebody once a week. Of course, you're doing inpatient treatment, but to have time to be able to go away and get your bearings and remember, oh no, I'm Hannah, this is who I am, away from this person, so that you can really notice the difference. But it's very easy in an intimate relationship to never notice, because it's just how things are. So that when you say that worst thing, when I've said it, it's like, oh my God, how did I say it? Like, where did that even come from? Well, it's inevitable that we're going to be each other's personification of this unconscious stuff.
So here's
this would be such a more effective way to teach about transference and countertransference.
Oh, yeah.
That I remember learning about that in school and just being like, what is countertransference? Like, the concept never really sat with me, but to think about, like, the people that you interact with you're gonna pull stuff out of them that's about you, and they're gonna pull stuff out of you that's about them. And, like, how different it would have been to conceptualize it that way and be prepared for it that way,
right?
Rather than this sort of nebulous, this thing happens, and you're like, but what does it mean?
Yeah, and where does it come from, and what do I do with it? Except try to have it not happen. But really, when the transference and the countertransference happens, that's the best stuff, because now it's alive. It's right there in the room, if you can stay conscious. But it's so easy to go unconscious and just act it out and say the thing and do the thing and be like, oh God, I don't want to ever see you again. All that acting out from our unconscious. It's very challenging across the board. So, and as therapists to really underline that.
So if you have coworkers or a boss, 'cause I've created this in many jobs.
Yes.
And, you know I'm smart, but I don't, my unconscious thinks I'm not.
Yeah.
Like I
Perfect.
have that.
Perfect.
You know, I have the whole bottom of the pile girl, that's one of my personas, you know, and it's so interesting to me in a job thing. Lauren said to me the other night, she's like, how do you keep recreating this in all your jobs?
Oh, go Lauren.
And I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know. That's a great answer.
I don't know, because she's like, well, your sister doesn't do it, does she? And I'm like, yes. Yes, she does.
Uh-huh.
So somewhere, you know, in that 0 to 6, something happened to both of us that we got this thing. And
Got that download.
hers is a little bit different, but the ultimate piece is that you lose your job and your boss doesn't want you there anymore.
That's how the end of the story.
Kind of, you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
but those people are all still my friends. They didn't want me to work there, but
But they love you.
yes. So I've created this multiple times now for all sorts of different things, but it's always the same. And here I am in the same thing again. And I'm, you know, 1,000 years old and recreating it. I'm aware, I got body of pile girl. I know about this smart and not smart deal. I know about blah, blah, blah. Like, I know the pieces, but I cannot find the place where that needle threads in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you find that.
Well, let's shift gears and talk about that.
Okay.
So what do you do, basically? So great, so here we have this 95%. What the hell do we do about that? And how do you interface with the unconscious? That's the question.
And over time piece that you just mentioned is the key. It's the over time. Like, I have cultivated this over, you know, 10 years, 13 years, 12 years of jobs. And I cultivate the thing. I didn't realize I
Takes
was
you time.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Until they're doing or I'm doing or whatever's happening to make that happen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it takes time to get them to do that thing. They're not gonna start that way, but they'll
I
fall
think
into
they
line.
they all have qualities. When I look back over time, the qualities exist in the other person for the cultivation,
Oh, perfect.
you know?
So you started with a fertile field.
I think so.
Great.
That's my thought on it anyway.
Yeah, good start.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying this is the difference between being a good therapist and a great therapist. A good therapist is gonna be interfacing with the 5%. And the person will come in and say, this is what I know, and this is what I wanna do, and the therapist, you know, and I'll just include myself in that, getting, okay, let's do that then, cause that's what you wanna do, and so I'll help you do that. And then it's 5% to 5%, like those are the two little parts of our consciousness that are interacting.
Action plan.
That's right, that's right. Come on, how'd it go? How'd you do in your homework that I didn't do? Yeah, right, all that stuff. So this work is about interfacing with the 95%. And that's unusual, that's just not easy to do, because most of therapy is, it's verbal, we talk, we sit, we say, tell me more, and it's just, you know, the conscious to conscious. But trying to get into and dig into the unconscious, I say this over and over around here, we have an unconscious for a reason. All that stuff is over there, we don't necessarily want it messed with. And it's very uncomfortable to have it messed with. I mean, really, it's nauseating, it feels icky, like you said, you whirled and spun. It's like, whoa, because we lose our bearings. Because this way, that 0 to 6, like, okay, this is how the world works, and then we've got all the rest of the years. This is how it works, and now you're telling me it doesn't work this way? It's very disorienting. So
we were built that way because it would take too much energy every single day to figure out how the world
my
works.
God,
Right?
let's just assume.
Like,
And
yeah.
stereotypes, racism, sexism, it's all, this is how this is the way the world works. It's much more efficient to be able to do that.
Well, and I think once you have the seed, those other years that you're talking about in the gray, you're not sure where this is. This is all about gathering data.
Just bring it on.
Yeah,
Bring it on.
so I'm gonna gather all the data that supports the premises that are happening here. And then I know for sure that scientifically I have proved that that is true.
Yes, that's right. Now I'll just go through my life
Yeah.
verifying what I already know.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
Over and over, which
Right.
politically, look at
Exactly.
what we're doing. Just, okay, I already know that, and it's true
Same
again.
pathway.
And the
Same path.
occasional anomaly that doesn't fit with
Yeah.
that,
It's
like,
just an
to prove
outlier.
that that's right is like, we'll dismiss that outlying
That's right. That's
data
not
point.
not valid information. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes sense again, but trying to get in there and disrupt it
Yeah.
and make it different is very uncomfortable for every single one of us. Me included. If you said, Julie, do you see the unconscious commitment right now? I'd be like, ooh, God, like, here we go. I might actually get your input about this later, because I clearly have an unconscious commitment about time and scheduling. But so how then the shift to how do we see the unconscious? How do we even get a handle on this?
Yeah.
And so a main concept here is how do you see that unconscious? Look at the results that you're creating.
I'm really glad we're talking about this because in one of my recent family sessions, I have this mom that is just like, her words don't match what she's doing. Like, she'll just criticize and criticize and criticize her daughter. Like, if I let her go on, she could be on the phone with me for 7 hours listing like all the bad things her daughter's done and why she's wrong and why they're suffering because of her. And her daughter tried to express like, all I've ever done is try to make you happy. And she's like, I don't believe that, because if you did want to make me happy, you would blah 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 blah. And then her daughter's like, I want you to be proud of me. She's like, I am proud of you. And it's like,
Beep, beep, beep.
but you're not.
Yeah, right. How would we know?
Anyway, and when we left the session, I said I want to talk about what you're really committed to
Fabulous.
in your relationship with each other, but I wasn't sure how to do it, so this is like perfectly
It's
timed.
very timely. Nice manifesting, Hannah. Yeah. So that's the concept. If Krishnamurti said, if you want to see your unconscious, look at your life. Because everybody else can see. I mean, I have weird shit about scheduling. You can see it over and over. I say a date and it's the wrong date or whatever. Like, you can see it, but I'm not going to be able to see it because I'm unconscious about it. Right? So we can be either very helpful with each other to be able to say, well, Hannah, did you notice this? But in that moment, it's a scary moment for people because actually, no, I didn't. So that is a tender place to understand, no, that's part of my 95%. Of course I didn't notice it because it's all automatic. I'm just on autopilot, like the way you said. And so now you're saying, notice the thing that I've been doing all along. I mean, it can be embarrassing or certainly like a little bit demoralizing. I thought I was doing the best thing I could, and then you're telling me, oh, look over here. You haven't seen this all along. Right. So Hannah, as you imagine this conversation with them, know that that's the very tender place for them of, oh, I didn't know that. So that you're seeing something and that's a scary thing. Thank you. They're looking at a dog and a cat.
Had quite a scene over there.
Looking out the window.
This is reminding me of how sometimes I can be driving down the road and I realize I don't remember the last several miles. Like, I have no memory of anything I passed for the last, 10 minutes.
It's wild.
Where have I been?
Yeah.
How
But
did I
meanwhile,
not
you've
drive
been
off
doing
the
it.
road if I wasn't paying attention? Clearly something was running the show.
Yeah.
But like total unawareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that, the words you just said of something was running the show.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously,
Like I didn't
that
drive off
is-
the road, so
yeah.
I was clear something was there.
You know, and this, and the concept of that something like this woman's been building this up for years. You know, it's not something, it's just like this second.
No.
It's like in there, and so that cellular thing, it feels cellular. Doesn't feel like
Yeah.
it's separate from.
Right.
And that to me is such a concept, like, yes, maybe it is in my cells, and, you know, because it's been there so long.
Yeah.
You know, as they're doing all
So
that
long.
research, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it's amazing, and how it can be so disruptive. You know, I was listening to you speak about your relationships the other night, you know, and then at Basics, and then I was talking about that thing, and all of a sudden pride came up.
Oh,
I
right.
have
On the map.
on the map, and you know, I've never thought I was like totally an angry person, but that is where it is. It is so there in pride, because it's like, don't think of me as stupid, don't call me a baby, don't, you know, like there's all these pieces underneath there that show up in this thing that I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, and that was a great moment of what was unconscious became conscious.
Oh, it was like a big, like somebody took a big, you know, thing and just jammed it in, and it went, oh my God, there it is.
Yeah.
I never saw it ever until then.
That's so great. And what was it like for you to see it then?
I took a big breath, because it was kind of like, wow. And I had a little bit of pride about it, in the fact that I haven't just been frozen. Like there was like this,
Yeah, like,
like
oh,
there
look
was
at me.
this, like,
I
look,
got up there.
I
in
moved
the
clear
pride.
up to, you know, motivated pride or whatever,
Yeah.
anger or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is such a concept for
I
me.
know, look at you.
So it was a prideful moment, but but I think the outcome of it is that there's so much more to that unconscious stuff that's just, you know, I've been doing this work for however long, 10, 12 years, whatever, and, you know, to just bring it up to somebody and expect that the change is gonna just be like this new thing.
Yeah.
Instead of the slinky, you know, it's more like the slinky, where it's just like it keeps unveiling and unveiling. So therapists, I think, have an interesting job, because
Yeah.
you know, it may be good on Tuesday, and by Thursday something totally different could come to your office.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
somebody worked through something, or some other part of this whole thing showed up.
Well, and here's the excitement of this. I'm talking about the difficulties, but the excitement is every piece that I can find and reclaim from my unconscious is more power. I can be like, oh, right, I don't have to just keep doing the same old thing. I can see it now. Now I can do something with it. So if people can get over that initial, oh God, you're blaming me and you're just telling me I'm doing everything wrong in my life.
Yeah.
And okay, to really
That's all in that pride realm.
what?
For
to,
me,
to
I'm
create
saying.
the relationship. Oh yeah, well, for I would say most of us.
Yeah.
That what you're telling me that, oh, you're telling me that, like for it to be able to shift and have the relationship, that it's a friendly offering. It's not an attack. It's
The
not
other
that.
thing that was so cool for me was that I noticed that the line was just one step away.
Oh
So
yeah,
pride
you
was
were,
right here.
I know you were up.
And I was
there.
like, okay, that is just one step to neutral.
Yes.
So in the reaction brain of pride, because that's where it's at, it's one step or one breath or one action
Yeah.
to neutral.
It's on all of the inner map. which we'll get to.
Yeah, I remember
Never
that.
shown this. Anyway, I just thought that was
Yeah.
fascinating.
You're just about over the line.
Yeah, or that it's not like I don't have to run a marathon. I don't have to do something that's like monumental to move.
Yeah.
Up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You don't.
And that was the first time I really noticed that that there was action, but also notice the fact that it's not that far away.
It isn't.
And that was new and interesting to me.
Okay, good.
Yeah, just fun. I like that kind of stuff.
Great. So, what do you do with the unconscious then? Well, so first you see it. And if you can keep yourself as a therapist from going into the trance or staying in the trance, or if you can wake yourself up out of it, Hannah's eyes are going like this right now. Wake up, Hannah, right? Then you can step back and say, okay, these are the results, and to start to, as dispassionately as possible, to be able to say, okay, what are the results you're creating? Like, so I created these results today. I'm enjoying that. We have a small group, but I still, to really be able to step back and say, these are the results I created. These are the results you created. So then it gets really interesting, you know, so who knows how you did that? These are the results everyone else created. To miss this, they did that. So the idea of 100% responsibility comes into, okay, as much as I want to be able to go, why did you do that? The much better question is, how did I do that? Because it's kind of amazing to create results that are kind of dramatic.
But there's
even
more
subtle.
results. I noticed the other night on the thing. There are more results than the one that you think is the one.
Oh yeah, right.
That's important, I think.
To get to the actual result, not the first round of, okay, let's see, I got fired from my job, so the result I created was I was fired from my job. Well, that's low hanging. It's, no, what did I really create? Oh, I created having a lot of free time, or I created another experience of rejection, or
an
the
experience
person-
of scarcity and
Yeah,
having
right.
income, or
Right, so the
Right.
first pass through is not gonna be probably the actual, what did you create, the actual result. That for each circumstance, you're the one that will know what the result is. You'll find it in your body if that feels true, but this doesn't. No, it's not just about being fired. What is it really about being? Oh, it's about, I don't know what for you, about being, you haven't been fired, but that,
No, yeah.
about having authorities that don't like me or whatever. So that you can actually get to the real result as you kind of parse it out and talk about it longer. So this process, the shifting from unconscious to conscious commitments, is about that. That's what this, it was a great process. This is Gay Hendricks' work. So that's what this really is trying to get at, is to say, okay, this thing happened, starting in with the whole complaining. I can't believe this thing happened to me again, which people are generally very happy to do because we know how to complain. We know how to say it's about the world. Those people are so mean to me all the time, and how, you know, these are all these good reasons that this, you know, we all know the unemployment rate is too whatever, or we all know that men are whatever, we all know that the world is like this. So starting there, but then starting to back into, oh, wait a second, it's about what I'm doing. So if you get your sheet out, we will play with that.
I got my sheet out.
You got your sheet out.
ready to play.
Good. Okay, so who would like to look at your unconscious commitment? Anybody? We probably all have time.
I'll jump in.
Okay, so Tani's got, should I turn you around so you
Somebody
can see
else wants
Tani?
to.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to see.
Okay, we're gonna,
I don't know if I could sit and see most of the group, but that would be cool. And is there a way for you to turn up your microphone? Hello.
there
I don't
isn't.
know.
That has
Sometimes
always been
you're
a
very
problem.
quiet and sometimes.
Yeah, I've never
problem.
never solved that issue. I don't know how to make that happen, but,
Okay, I put headphones in and it's gotten a little better, so.
okay.
Do you want me to
Also-
come sit next to you?
Yeah,
so
that's a
she
good
can
idea. Why don't you
see
come
both of
over
us
And
here?
she does
Same
not
time?
need to see me because
Knows what
we
you're
have
All right.
plenty of history.
And I can also move closer to the laptop.
It's
There
good.
you are.
That's better.
Okay.
How are we doing on
Liking
battery?
it.
We still have, we're way down. We only have 22% left.
Will my thingy work in your dealie?
And I didn't bring my power cord. Maybe we can FaceTime on your phone with Hannah when we lose power?
Sure.
Okay, So we only have
So
22%.
don't panic when you disappear.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get you back. Okay, so I'm just gonna follow this.
Yeah, okay.
And now let's just do it the right way. So stand up,
Okay.
even though now we were in such a great position you can see us, but I still want to demo it the right
Alright.
way, because this is a body-centered process.
Ah,
This is
okay.
not so much
Yeah.
that the answers are going to come much more from your body than your mind.
Okay.
I mean, of course, there will need to be translation into English.
Uh-huh.
But so first, you've got 1 to 2 minutes to complain fully about the issue and really see if you can get your whole body involved.
Okay, okay. Oh my goodness. I want to be healthy and fit and active, and I spent a decade being sick with chronic fatigue. And I'm tired of resting, but I keep resting. And I want to I'm gonna go to yoga, and I'm gonna walk, and I'm gonna go running, and I'm gonna do all these things to get my strength and vitality and flexibility and energy back, and all the benefits I know that exercise will do for me, but I don't do it.
But I don't do it.
Yeah,
Great.
in fact, it doesn't even cross my mind
Great.
for long periods, and then it's once it's dark out, then I'm I should have gone
Shoot.
running while it was light out,
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Great.
And I'm I keep setting these intentions, and then,
And then
I don't do it. Yeah.
Okay, so you just actually got us to the second step. The listener helps the speaker reduce the complaint to one short, succinct sentence. And it sounds like I keep setting intentions and then I don't do it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But do you have a pen or something you could write that down?
This goes for meditation too, but we'll just
Okay,
with
just
working
the
out for
intention.
now.
I
Setting
set these
intentions
intentions
and then I
to
don't
be
do them.
healthy
Yeah.
or set these intentions to what's the thing?
Yeah. I'm
So-
gonna cook, I'm gonna meditate, I'm gonna floss my teeth, I'm gonna exercise.
So to be a better human,
There's,
to have a better, what's the attention to?
That my health, my vitality, my endurance, my ability to engage and create my life the way I want, to be more present, to be more resilient, yeah.
And so if you're gonna be succinct and just use a couple words for that, what would you call that?
It feels like it's really about health and vitality.
Okay, so I keep
Yeah.
setting intentions to have health and vitality and I don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, does that sound right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, so we just found the result, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from the complaint, we can find the result.
From the complaint. Yeah. I'm really good at being lazy.
Oh.
I seem to have an unconscious commitment to
Oh,
laying around.
that's great, that's great. So what just happened was you just actually found the next result, the even better, more powerful, really juicy thing.
Mhm.
So I create being lazy.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. I keep creating being kind of disengaged,
I'm disengaged.
numbed
I
out.
have a
Remember.
question.
Yes.
I guess what's standing out to me is the narrative of it, being, what does it mean to be lazy? And that feels very I guess you are asking her about the story, but I don't know. What does that mean? What does it mean to be lazy, or what meaning are you attaching to health and yeah, I guess that's what's coming to my
Well, thank you.
mind.
And I would say, now you're trying to intellectualize. And that would be a different technique or something than what this is. Because
Okay,
what that means to
cultivation.
Tani is her thing and
Mhm.
from her body, and I don't even have to know what that is.
Oh.
It doesn't matter. Okay,
doesn't
that's good to know.
Doesn't
Good
matter.
to know.
I'm gonna tilt
Okay,
the
I'll
camera
let
a
it
little
go.
bit. Yeah, because if I say that, let me just show what will happen. So what do you mean by lazy?
I mean, sitting on the couch, drinking a glass of wine, watching Netflix.
But do you really,
Not
does that
working
really mean
out.
lazy? So now we're thinking and talking, this is a body-centered intervention. It's not an analytic intervention. Okay.
Okay.
let's see how
Okay.
this unfolds.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll see how this
Yeah, I'm
unfolds.
gonna-
Yeah, that's right. All that stuff, all the
No,
cognitive
wait.
stuff right now.
Okay.
It is what it is, and I'm not saying it's not good, although I am saying I think this is more effective. Because we're getting to the 95%.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, cool.
I
Because I've been-
just wanted to
Yeah.
like acknowledge.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
A little tickle on over that.
Because I've
So-
thought about it a lot.
We have the two, I set intentions to be healthy and have health and vitality, and I don't do it.
Mhm.
And then we have the I create being lazy
Yeah.
and disengaged.
And disengaged.
So where
Yeah.
are you?
I would go with the second one. Although what I did was actually jump to the third step of this.
Okay.
So we can say the result is lazy,
If
disengaged.
if the result is that I'm watching Netflix and zoning out and on Facebook, and it's a lot of numbing activity. It's a
Okay,
lot of like
great.
sitting around being numbed out,
Okay, wonderful.
being kind of disembodied.
Perfect. So as times with this, like we're getting more and more of the grit of this. So I would say, okay, the result really is disembodied disengagement.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we're
Yeah.
like talk about succinct. That's pretty good. So then now I'm gonna go back to number 3. So can you just add these words? I cause
I cause
disembodied disengagement.
disembodied disengagement. I cause
I
disembodied
Right.
I cause my disembodied
Yeah.
disengagement.
Yeah.
Eh.
Okay, here's the moment. So that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like going from the conscious to the unconscious. I mean, vice versa, unconscious to conscious.
I cause.
Like,
yeah.
what? Ah.
I don't-
Usually people really feel ashamed about it or nauseated or just like, wait. So just that little bit, like the complaint feels great. Uh-oh. I caused this.
I cause this.
I caused this. So really starting to get, and spending time with that I caused this.
Mhm.
I create disembodied disengagement. So say that.
I create disembodied
I create
disengagement.
disembodied disengagement. It's not
Yeah.
happening at me, it's not
Yeah.
just a thing. I'm creating this.
Yeah, yeah.
And in this lingo, now I'm gonna use the word committed to and that. So
Mhm.
I'm committed to.
I'm committed to disembodied disengaged.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
Everybody's going like
gonna
this.
go twitch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go ahead and twitch. Now, the word commitment here is an organization of energies towards. So how can you tell what you're committed to? You look at the results.
Mhm.
Because you can see my energies have been organized to create a handout because you see the result.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we can see your commitment to disembodied disengagement because we see the result.
Mhm. Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
You with me? Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what commitment means. So just let's go back to that. I'm committed to
I'm committed to embodied disengagement.
disembodied.
Disembodied. What
Although
did I
maybe
say?
getting more
Ah!
embodied.
I am committed to disembodied disengagement.
And just try that out. Like, just kind of be with that. Like, that's very weird and interesting.
Wow. Inner critic is like loser.
Oh, okay. It's just like stop
Like,
it.
whoa, that's
You freaking loser. You're committed to that.
that's the lazy. Yeah, you're
Uh-huh,
just
there it is.
lazy.
Lazy, yeah.
Or
Well, so I appreciate you talking about that. And then meanwhile, can you breathe and move with
just
that?
to like feel it, accept it.
Whoa,
Ugh, I don't want to
whoa,
feel
yeah,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Uh-huh, yeah.
The spinach in the teeth
Yeah.
moment. Like, whoa, no,
Uh-huh.
no,
Yeah. If
ah.
we judge it, we can put it in a box and
Yeah,
just put it over
right.
there and be like, yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, right. Versus
Okay.
really starting to get in sync with, wait a
Okay.
second. From the
Uh-huh.
results, I can really tell I'm committed
Mm-hmm.
to creating disembodied disengagement.
Yeah.
Start kind of just trying that on your body.
Right.
Breathe with that and, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Disembodied.
yeah. I spent a
Oh,
lot of my time.
Yeah, you're really,
being
great at this.
I'm really good at it.
At
I can binge watch like
Okay.
nobody's
Okay,
business.
you're a master at
Yeah,
it. Uh-huh.
yeah. Especially if I'm watching someone kick ass.
Okay,
You
that's
know?
even better.
Yeah.
So keep
Can I
trying
ask a
that.
question at this point? When this person wants to keep going back to the story,
Yeah.
Which is in number 1,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
so what is your redirect, or how do you get them to stay here?
I ask them to keep repeating it while they're breathing and moving.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
why it's the body-centered piece here,
Okay.
because we could be talking about it like, yes, but what about last week? I remember when you did go to yoga? You know, it's like, we could be doing that, but that's not what this process is.
Mhm,
This
mhm.
process is about really bringing what was unconscious to the conscious. Because again, on the outside, people could be like, oh yeah, Tony, we know Netflix. But you wouldn't have noticed it, but oh yeah, what am I creating? I'm creating not just Netflix,
Yeah.
but I'm creating this disengagement.
Right.
And being
Right.
out of my body.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so when you say that, now what happens?
Ooh, suddenly I'm like 10 years of my body being really painful, physically painful, and painful to just fatigue on a painful level.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be in my body.
Oh.
It wasn't a safe place to be. It was a
Good
painful place to
thinking.
be. So I've formed a really deep habit of just checking out so I don't have to feel all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which seems kind of smart.
Which
to
got me through like the really hard, painful part. It's just that now I'm over the virus that was causing that, and I don't now. I want my life back.
Well, maybe, although I'd argue with
But,
that so
yeah,
far.
right.
But right now,
I think I do.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? But
And
we'll
yet
get there.
I'm really good at disembodied
Yes.
disengagement.
Great.
Really good at it.
Great. So now notice what's happened here. In about, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes, you've gone from your face twitching to, oh, yeah, I am good at this.
Uh-huh.
And when I watched Gay Hendricks do this the very first time, he said this is about basically going up the tonal scale of starting with shame and going up to, okay, maybe sadness or grief, going up to now we're actually getting up to some acceptance. And maybe even like, oh yeah, no wonder I'm doing that. That makes sense.
Not everybody else can stay on the couch all
You know,
day.
that is its own talent.
Watch like a whole season.
And now it's work
of
appreciation.
something.
And I think my computer's about ready to shut down.
Is it?
So,
Do
Hannah,
have
let's
a-
put
do
you
have a
on
laptop
to,
plug by chance? No.
No.
we're gonna go to FaceTime. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll come back in a minute. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Hi, Lenny.
Hi.
You're gonna have to hold it, huh?
Hello? All right, I'm gonna turn my volume up as high as I can. Let's see. I'm accepting you.
If anybody else has something that you don't have to hold.
I'm good.
Do you have FaceTime on your computer or no? Okay, there's Hannah. Hi, Hannah. But yours froze.
I don't wanna walk in front of the camera.
Oh.
You were frozen, camera.
Oh. The lighting is a lot better on my phone.
Oh, good.
Poor connection. The video will resume automatically when the connection improves.
Okay.
Are you on Wi-Fi at the BC3 bed?
Oh yeah, are you on Wi-Fi? That'll help it go faster.
I don't know,
Can I help you
Sure.
with that?
Breathe, I think.
Breathe now.
Breathe now.
Okay. We're gonna go to your settings and Wi-Fi. You are on the BCC Wi-Fi. Okay, so, poor connection. You've got
I have
4
a-
bars.
Well, we could even just have you on the phone. You.
Oh, it's working now.
Oh,
Okay,
there
great.
we go. All right, I'm
Great.
not sure. Yeah.
Okay, it'll probably go in and
Yeah.
out.
All right.
Okay. So, yeah, so now, let's go back to it. So
Mhm.
say it again. Yeah, I create.
I
I'm committed
create.
to.
I'm committed to disembodied disengagement.
Yeah, great,
Yeah, and I'm really good at it.
great. So
Yeah.
now you're lined up. Now you're
Uh-huh.
in sync with what is true.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
you're in reality now. Before it was
Right.
like, no, this thing is happening at me. But
Uh-huh.
now you are in reality. You're in real
Mhm,
time. Like,
mhm.
oh, I'm doing this. I'm committed to doing this.
Right.
And I'm doing a great job of it.
Yeah.
So great. So far so good, people? Any questions so far, Hannah?
Mm-mm.
Okay, because this is the shift happened in Tony's body.
Yeah, and when I asked about the story, I wasn't suggesting like, what does it mean to be lazy? Like, I would have gone to like the
Yeah, got it.
I'm
Got it,
with
you
ya.
wouldn't have just stayed there, yeah, I hear you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And this process has its own really interesting, like, unfolding, so, anyway, so we'll keep going.
Okay.
So now that we've kind of faced into what is, and you can do that, it can be there, we know what that is. So then the next question, number 5, is, are you ready to shift?
I am ready to shift.
Okay, so then, there's a step that I would wanna add in here, it must be in a different handout. You started doing it, so write this into your handout, y'all. It's how is this serving you? And you already started talking about that, how has this unconscious commitment been a great idea?
Right. It definitely served me when I was sick, and it was, embodiedness was painful,
Mm-hmm.
and engagement was exhausting. So, yeah, it was a survival technique that worked really well.
Because at this place, I would want there to be space for you to appreciate yourself and appreciate this commitment and appreciate, especially what an amazing creator you are, that you've been doing this, you didn't even know you were doing it, and you've been doing it.
Right.
And so with an unconscious commitment, it's pretty much like, wow, you're such a great creator. Bet you've done this with these different jobs. That's amazing. You're such a great creator. And to be able to see that that was all unconscious. So that if you can do that unconsciously, imagine what you could do if you were creating consciously. But to really appreciate your ability as a creator is stunning.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, really,
Yeah.
it's stunning that we all are so good at creating things that we think it's supposed to be this, but we keep doing that, and we keep getting people to engage with us about it.
Right.
So to really be in full appreciation of, wow, I can create.
Yeah.
And look at, when I'm
Right.
committed, look at the results I get.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Because then we can start to turn that around and say, okay, so let's imagine the new conscious commitment. But generally, it isn't just flipping from, well, I'm disembodied and disengaged to, so I'm gonna be embodied and engaged. Because there's a reason that you were disembodied and disengaged. We can't just say, all right, we'll stop doing that and start doing this unless we arrive there.
Right.
But it's more of, but what do you really want? Because now that we know how this has served you and taken care of you, it's helped you be out of your pain, it's helped you have had a buffer from people. So now at this point, I wonder if you could incorporate any of those ways that it served you into a new conscious commitment.
Say that one more time.
Yeah, that was a big mouthful, so I want to say it again. To incorporate the ways that the unconscious commitment served you. Because if you leave those things out, it's kind of like, well, yeah, but it really helped. To have a buffer. It really helped to have, to be away from my pain. So
the unconscious part of me that's really attached to it is like, this has been serving me.
Yeah, this has been really important.
So
what do you really want is the next question.
Yeah.
When you try that out, like in your body and this whole thing, okay, now I can see the unconscious piece. What is I really want?
Wow. The place I want to go to is like the results I want. Like that I want to be able to do the things I love to do. I want to be able to go hiking and skiing and to feel strong, you know, to feel like I can go on a hike with someone and here at high elevation even and feel good in my body instead of feeling like, oh my God, I'm so out of shape and I'm out of wind and I can't keep up and I'm embarrassed and like I wanna be able to feel in my body that life force energy, like moving in my body, that feels good and invigorating.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to feel good in my body.
I want to feel good in my body. Yeah.
Accurate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we
I want to
just
feel
rest
good
with
in my
that?
body. Yeah.
Yeah. So this part, the whole want to, it's the tricky part, right? Like how do we know when we get to the bottom line of the want? And we'll try it, and then you yourself are gonna be like, yeah, but what I really want. So as we play with this a little bit, there might be a different want that comes out of that. But it's really about landing on the real want. So I want to feel good in my body. So, and I wonder if there's might be something about choice in there too. Be able to choose things, like I want to choose to be, if I want to go hiking or whatever.
I want to feel inspired to engage with the intentions that I set, to feel empowered to engage with you, that I can set an intention and go for it.
Oh, great. So I want to feel good and empowered.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Good and empowered in my intentions.
Good and empowered in my
conscious intentions.
You said safe earlier. I wonder if there's like a safe piece, like I want to feel safe in my body.
Yeah. Wow. There's a piece of the illness hit me pretty much literally out of the blue and knocked me flat. And there's a way where I'm still reluctant to trust my body.
Great. Nice catch, Hannah.
Yeah. And each time I sort of thought I was getting better, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go for a walk. And I'd walk for a mile, and then I'd be wiped out for days.
Well, okay.
And this
that
feeling of
makes
like,
sense then.
I don't know how to trust this place yet.
Oh.
Like, how do I trust that I'm not gonna push too much and like set myself back a decade?
Yeah, right.
Like, yeah.
Right.
I don't wanna go back there.
Yeah, got it.
That was really awful.
Sounds awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so smart of you to have been disembodied and disengaged so that wouldn't happen again. So now that you've got all these different pieces, so I'm going to take a moment to try to be like, so what I really want is, the bottom line of what I really want is that trust and feeling safe and feeling good.
That I want to feel good in my body and trust my body. Yeah.
So again, we'll play with that for a minute. And notice it's taken us a lot, some time, 15 minutes maybe to get to the want, 10, I don't know. But it's like to give that plenty of time, because we're shifting from this old pattern into this whole new bunch of possibilities. And so let's give it plenty of time.
It's like I can feel my body saying like, I don't feel empowered.
Oh.
Like.
That's because you got all that old story.
Like
It's
there's
just
a physical
keep showing
feeling of like,
Scared.
I should be careful. Don't overdo it.
Well, yeah. There's your body. Thank you, body, for showing up here. So, your body is like
we
talking
think
to
we're
you.
well, but we don't know for
we don't
sure.
really know. So it sounds like there's some learning also. Like, what if you got to learn to trust your body? And it sounds like your body wants to learn to trust you too.
Yeah. Well, the whole reason that, like, in retrospect, the reason I manifested this illness is because I used to live like a force of nature and bend the universe to my will,
Right.
and I completely burned myself out.
Yeah. So your body might not be very trusting.
My body's like, are you gonna push me like you used to push me?
She
Because
got
that
the
was
controls
like,
again. Look out.
and we're not 30 anymore.
Yeah.
We're 50 now, and don't push me like you used to push me.
So now again, so you're kind of breathing with that. So Tanya, what do you really want? And you can kind of breathe with that and kind of find that place. All this.
I want to feel vitality and strength in my body.
Well, and I'm going to reflect back to you something about befriending. Like the two of you have been at odds.
Yeah.
So you drove it, and then it laid you flat, and like that. There's been not a lot of allyship.
Right. Yeah.
And kind of along with that, the thing that was coming to my mind that kept coming up was sort of like teamwork. Because it's sort of like either or. And I'm wondering if you create something that feels more inclusive of both rest and play, if that might feel better.
Something I feel like I notice that listening, a fear that comes up for me is like to, in some of the other processes we've learned, there's like, what do you really want and what are different ways to get there? And I guess I feel worried that you're limiting yourself for how to get what you want to like hiking and like you've got a story about that that's limiting the way that you can interact with your body and what you could do to, I'm curious what you could do to open that up and it's like vitality could be more or different, so like I don't know.
There's definitely there's still like a body memory of before I got sick and the like backpacking and sea kayaking and running and yoga, not just yoga, Bikram yoga, and you know, like that feeling of like if I was stressed I could go for a run and work it all out and
mind over matter.
Is there like an acceptance piece that needs to come in for where you are currently in reality?
And there's this sort of I can feel that belief of like it's not good enough until I get back to that. Like yin yoga doesn't count. You know, like walking doesn't count.
But
then I don't even do those things.
Right, because your body says I don't want to.
Yeah.
Well, and also,
and they don't count.
And the judgment.
You don't even get to enjoy that level of activity because
your third dis would be discount. You'd have disembodied disengagement discount.
I want to say something about how, like, because I have chronic pain and chronic illness, and when I made the commitment to feel really, really good with no rules, I just naturally gravitated towards what felt good. And it surprised me. Like, I surprised myself as to what, like, once I gave myself permission to feel good, you know, because I used to do 12-mile hikes and dance and all of that. But when I just said I want to feel really, really good, the things I ended up doing, still movement, but they were totally different than what I would, the other old, like the old me would have picked. And I'm happier than I've ever been, feel better than I've ever felt. And so there was a kind of a level of like accepting that I am not, like the person I was is in the past, this is me now. How can I feel good now in each moment?
Wow. It's a big thing to let go of who I was in the past.
So another commitment.
There's been this like get back to thing.
Another unconscious.
Even though on other layers, I've become a much more present, compassionate, empathetic person who's a lot more mindful about how I spend my energy and my time, and that I wasn't before. So there's been this like get back to story, but also like, well, becoming the new version of me. What's the new vibrant, healthy, feel good in my body? What does that look like in this new person that learned from the difficult experience?
So that sounds like a potential new conscious commitment.
Yeah.
To discover the new you.
It's another dis.
Discover.
Yeah.
Discover who is this new
Disembodied
new.
disengagement, whatever.
To discover who
Equals.
am I? Who am I now? As an embodied, engaged, empowered woman.
There we go. Yeah. Great.
Who got into grad school?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
thing I was about to try to do right before I got sick.
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
go back 12 years and I'm finally
We'll
doing
benefit from that journey.
Yeah.
So now,
What am I?
That's you.
so, so
Oh, wow.
now you're gonna
You are so
speak
sweet.
the new commitment. I commit to discovering, or I don't know how that word. I commit.
I commit to embodying.
Read the last one, because it was really good, just on the page.
Just, there's an accepting, appreciating, embodying who I am now. Yeah.
Keep breathing and let those tears come. And I commit to.
I commit to accepting, appreciating, and embodying the vitality of who I am now.
And what do you notice is coming up? What are the sensations that are happening in your body?
Getting really hot.
Great, energy's great.
A little dizzy.
Perfect. Great signal.
A little bit
dizziness.
nauseous.
Yeah, great.
Right on track.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah, like tingly, there's like a vibration, sort of tingly, yeah.
Great.
Is it possible for my skin to feel nauseous? I think my skin
Maybe
feels
so.
nauseous.
Yes, I've had that. so breathe with that.
It's like a shedding.
Yeah, yeah. So this part is really embodying the new commitment. So hanging in there, having you repeat that brings up the stuff that's in the way of the commitment, and also kind of helping you root the commitment. So let's just say that again. I commit to
accepting, embodying, appreciating the vitality of who I am now.
How do you feel now in your body?
More settled.
Okay, so kind of this big wave came through of energy, and now okay, kind of settled.
There's like a flushed, but almost like a cool breeze on my flushed skin feeling. Buzzy, really buzzy all over on, yeah, on the outside.
So
A little woozy.
Great. And so you've got it written down, and so that will be a takeaway for you. And then, what's one easy, fun, pleasurable action step you could take in this direction?
Dancing.
Oh, dancing. Easy, pleasurable,
Fun. Yeah.
And how does your body like that idea?
Yeah.
It likes that idea.
Yeah.
Okay, dancing and dancing when, or where, or how?
A bunch of people at school have been telling me about a place to go dancing here.
Okay.
I can't. Alchemy?
Yeah, Alchemy of Movement. They have a
Oh.
movement mass.
Ah.
We lost Hannah.
I could try that.
Let's make it
I
easier.
used to
Let's
just
make it
dance in
easier.
my living room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's really lower
Yeah,
that. Just how about
yeah.
like a 1 minute dance,
Ooh.
like
Yeah.
tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, so are you back, Hannah?
No.
Hi there. Great. So because this action step, pleasurable, measurable, people are going to be like, from now on, I'm going to meditate every day for an hour. It's like, whoa, wait a second, whoa. So
Right.
easy.
Yeah.
All we're doing is taking something that was just in the ethers and bringing it onto the physical plane. So easy. You could just be going and writing down your name. It doesn't have to be anything.
Right.
So 1 minute dance that you can do tonight, you know
Yeah.
it's happened,
Yeah.
and that's taking you in the direction of your commitment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I
sounds
can
good.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm gonna dance.
Okay. Dance into it.
Shake my booty.
You can shake your booty. Why not? Why wait? So, that's right. Why wait? Close the gap. Close the gap.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I hug you?
Sure. Yeah. Wow. Awesome. Great. It's such
Wow.
a great process.
Wow.
Totally.
Wow.
All right.
Did I say wow yet?
All right, so
Did
that's.
I hear? Wow. I
Let's-
didn't get the very last thing.
Oh, I'll write that down. Yeah.
So that's the process. And, yeah, so any comments or thoughts or questions? And you've been doing it, so.
Yeah, I love it. It's really powerful, especially for people I feel like who have really strong mind-body connections. Yeah, it's cool. I do it a lot.
Great. Yeah, this one is a powerful, powerful process. And in fact, Bruce Lipton, in this book, Spontaneous Evolution, that I,
She's using it.
great.
She's absorbing it.
He lists in the back, well, what are practices that are out that impact the unconscious? And Hendrick's work is on his list.
Nice.
So that's cool. Psych-K, and I don't remember what else is on the list, but it's going directly to interface with the unconscious, this 95% we've been talking about. Do you have any questions or thoughts about it, or Hannah, what do you think?
I've just been like picturing, well, I noticed there's like a commitment that I would explore, and then I was like, I have to keep this a secret. So it's funny that I'm still like, I'm not ready to share for that.
Yeah.
And then,
It's because it's a big deal, right?
yeah.
It's so to have the compassion about your clients coming into you, the professional, and what a big deal it is for them to expose themselves to you. Like this mother, it's a big deal.
Yeah. And I like sort of been fantasizing about like what this would look like in my groups, and I feel like it would, we use stages of change and just understanding like readiness and that willingness of like, no, I'm not going there, and that how this could work in a group setting where some of them would be ready and like could do what we just did, and the others who weren't ready could say, no, I'm not willing to shift, and no, I'm not willing to see how I'm creating this.
Yep.
And that like it could be okay, but they could all sort of like hold that space for each other. And so just kind of picturing what this would look like in my setting
Yeah,
is
great.
kind of fun, and I can see, I've been trying to have more dynamic groups that aren't just like me saying like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
And then everybody sitting quietly for like 3 minutes and then wondering if I asked a question. But like getting people moving, and it just also feels like I wonder how much time we could save in treatment
Yeah.
Right?
through some of the crap.
I have something to say about that, actually. I wanted to challenge, I didn't do this with a client, but I did it with a friend. And she said, oh, healing takes years. Like, how many years am I going to have to work on this? And I said, it doesn't have to take years. It could take 20 minutes. She's
Yeah.
like, no way in hell that I'm going to work through this in 20 minutes. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, do you want to
Throw
try?
down.
I'm like, do you want to play? And she's like, yeah, sure, which I love about her. And we did the unconscious commitment. I did the unconscious commitment with her, and she had like related her relationship patterns and she found the connection between the fact that she was unconsciously committed to hating men because of the abuse of her father, and that she wanted to hate men, and then like the universe was then giving her plenty of men to hate.
Yeah, really.
And so she ended up with an unconscious, or with her conscious commitment, and it did only take like 20 minutes, and she was like, holy shit. And she's still texting me like how things are changing for her since that process. So I thought it was really cool to actually prove to people that healing does not have to take long.
Yeah, no. Right.
Or healing's an interesting word, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think once, for me anyway, in my stuff, once the awareness happens, the noticing, then it's like a can of green beans. You know, like it's open and everything's exposed in there. I can see it, and I might not know every green bean yet, but at least they're open and it's not closed up and hidden.
Yeah.
So, you know, the healing can take place in one green bean at a time.
Yeah.
I love that process.
Yeah.
Of the, oh yeah, there it is again, and I didn't know it was going to be that green bean.
Well, and then it will pop up again, and it's definitely, like, it's not healed, but healing.
Yeah, healing, like
Yeah.
the process of it, like moving through it
Yeah.
in reverse.
This feels more like a transmutation or a transformation than a healing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, transformation is probably
Yeah.
a better word. Yeah.
yeah.
So I want to say a couple things about commitment. One is that when you make a commitment, it's a co-creation between you and the universe. That's what you're committing. Like, it's really, I'm committing to this. I was committed to that, now I'm committing to this. So potentially you have the power of the universe behind you. It's not an agreement, you're not agreeing with someone else, you're committing, and the universe says, oh, you're committing to this? I thought we were committed to that, because you've done a great job with disembodied disengagement. Oh, now you're giving me new instructions. Now we're going in this direction.
Yeah.
So there's so much power behind that. Then the other thing I want to say is, I hand out Post-it notes, some of you have seen this, with the old commitment on the back and the new commitment on the front, because there's commitment and there's recommitment over time, and you can use that to say, oh, there's my disembodied commitment, oh yeah, blow kisses, because I'm so good at it. Now I recommit to this new commitment. And people, even if you don't like look at it every day and say the intention every day and pray for it, like, you can put that away, and you've done the thing. You've already marked that in universe of time.
Yeah.
So you can get that out, and people have brought the tattered piece of paper years later and said, this is how my life has changed by making this commitment. I made the commitment, I changed my life because of this. So this is powerful.
Yeah.
This is powerful stuff.
I love that you bring in the work of manifestation and working with the universe and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what you'll say about that to the mother
Yeah.
that's critical.
Yeah.
It's up to you. But that's really what we're talking about. As creators, we're incredible creators, and to really understand that at such a basic level, that we can create these same patterns over and over with all these different people. How did we do that? That's amazing. And so then really understanding how to leash the power of that creativity in the way that you're really wanting to consciously, instead of just letting the unconscious run the show.
I'm just smiling because I'm thinking about, like, she's all about the evidence, like, just presenting, like, sending me pictures of her daughter's cell phone, and like, it's just funny because she wants, I think finally, at one point I was like, I don't care. I don't want to hear it anymore. Like, this is an interesting story to me. I need you to look at what you're doing in your relationship with her, regardless of whether she wants green hair or whether she did, like, I was like, I don't care if she wants dark hair. I really don't. But you do. And what is that about? And, like, it just, I mean, it's, when I'm not in a conversation with her, it can be funny to imagine what that commitment is of, like, yeah, it feels like you said that, like, tender moment of, I don't know if mom is committed to the victim role or, like, where she's at, but confronting the role that she's been in or is trying to stay in, and like, it does feel like villainizing her daughter, and like, she's the victim in all of this, but she also really wants to be the hero. So she's like, I'm just fed up, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then, like, but you keep doing it.
Yeah.
You keep showing up. So what is that?
Yeah.
Where you say you don't care if she dyes her hair, but then you give her 100 reasons why she shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be
Why?
confusing.
Yeah.
I just have this thought on that, coming from the backside of the phone. You know, I wonder if there's somewhere in there where it's about being a good or a bad parent. Like, she might have a commitment to not being a good parent. Like, I mean, like, it could be like way over there, and by having all the rules, it looks like you're a good parent. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
but
I feel
what's
like there's something
way
like that,
underneath
like, I'm stuck on that right now,
Yeah.
it's in my brain, sorry.
Yeah, so, but that's the discovery.
Yeah, you
for
don't
her.
know, she has to
Yeah,
find
who knows what
out.
it is, so, but,
Hannah, my phone's on low battery.
okay, well,
Okay,
we're gonna
well, we will be
finish in
back.
a moment anyway.
4 minutes.
Yeah.
Could you refresh my memory? What was the step you said you would add to this list?
Somewhere
On the edge of
around,
the corner, there's a little arrow,
Oh, okay. How is this serving you? Okay.
yes.
right by number
How's the
5.
unconscious commitment serving you?
How is this?
I didn't know if my cryptic arrows and diamonds and stars would help you.
Thanks for doing that.
And that would be before the "Are you ready to shift"?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, somewhere in there. Let's see, where would it be?
You didn't ask that until after you clarified that.
Yeah.
So it's the like, what are you figuring out what you're
I mean,
It was
part,
a
that, it's really a shift
commitment
question.
thought.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Hannah?
Oh, I shut my computer down, but I think it was after, like, what's your old commitment and how is
Yeah.
that commitment
Yeah.
serving?
Yeah, it's right in there, cause it's a really, it's a shift question
Right.
cause what do you mean it's serving you?
Inherently encourages you to appreciate it, like,
Yeah,
with eating disorders, like, how's your eating disorder serving you?
Yeah.
It's not all bad or it wouldn't be here.
exactly.
Right.
The psyche is smart.
The question I used to ask people is, well, what are you getting out of it?
Yes.
Like, what's the
Right,
yeah,
and
there's some
I don't know
benefit that you. Yeah.
What's
Although
that
it takes-
psychologist's name
it
on
takes some
TV?
finessing to
How's that
ask
working
that.
for you? But it's,
Oh.
you know, you can ask that question in such a critical way.
Yeah.
How's
true.
that frickin' working? You're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, you have
and,
to-
and this is a
How's
much
But this-
more.
But this process doesn't seem to bring that up, that
Yeah.
Yeah, this is much
defensiveness.
more of,
It's true.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
wow, this is amazing.
Cause if someone
How's
just
it
asked
taking
me
care of
how
you?
my illness was serving me, I'd be like, F you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really.
totally.
But this process opens me up before those questions even come,
Yes.
and so I'm more receptive.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
this is about you. Like, I think
Yeah.
sometimes when somebody's asking a question, it's almost like it's about what they need or want, when it's so
Yeah.
direct like that. And this is about you and your process.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So my toss to you is to go try this with someone,
Mm.
so that you can, you know, as soon as possible, so you can really see what it's like to be on this end, and to give them plenty of time and space to and I love what you did with your friend, to just let that unfold, and for them to get to what's really true for them. Because we had different ideas, but it was really what landed for you.
Yeah.
Because we're on the outside, we can see things you can't see. That's how we serve,
Right. Yeah.
but it's
Mhm.
got to be true for you. It's got to
Yeah.
resonate.
Yeah.
We don't get to see all that unconscious, even as the outsider, because there's so many layers to the thing that's the real thing.
Yeah,
You know, it's like having anger when you're really sad.
Yeah.
right.
It's, you know, it's
What's
that.
really going
Yeah,
on.
what's really real. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
To see how the onion peels.
So, any completions before we wrap for tonight? Anything else you want to say? Bravo! Thanks for
Thank
stepping
you.
in so big tonight. I
Thank
really appreciate
you.
that. Yeah, and yeah, and go try it, and then
I
let us
will.
know how it went.
Yeah.
And to be
Is
clear,
there like a message board or some kind of group for this symposium that we could
ooh,
use in between classes?
great question. I have not created that. Could you create something? What would
Yes,
it look like?
if you could, I mean, I might have an email with everybody, but yes, I can.
Can we use the Facebook we already have, or?
We've got an ILC
Oh, yeah.
page. We could, let's keep it simple though. It could be as easy as just starting an email thread.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a big, complicated thing. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that we can find out what happened.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to just keep it going in between because we all walk away and so much happens.
Yeah.
And, like, we're here to learn something new,
So I wanna be very clear, the next time we meet is March 1st,
Alright.
okay? March 1st.
It's not gonna
there in
change.
person.
And I don't know if it will change, but that is my plan.
The plan.
And you'll be here in person, great. Yeah, and I
March
sent out the other 2 dates after that, I don't remember what they are, so I'm not gonna even try. It's on the email, so, March 1st,
I won't be here in May.
okay. Yahoo!
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, it's great to see you, Hannah. All
Bye,
right.
Hannah.
Right on.
Talk to you
Bye.
later.
There it is. Thank you so
Bye.
much. That was awesome.
Yeah, good, good, glad you
Julie, I
came.
have a question.
This was a
I've
good
got
handout.
tons of PDFs now of most of our handouts.
Oh, yeah, cause you are organizing us.
Well, yeah, but Aaron's gone, and he was gonna do some kind of organizing,